because these teams, Stephen, where like the coach is fired, it's all they all want to talk about. Shout out to Brian Kelly. He it looks like he may be in UCLA based on AI, for nothing else. But who's going to be replacing Brian Kelly? This is what I wanted to go with this, Stephen. So Shane and I talked about this. His daughter broke down on the side of the road. He was distracted. He didn't give this much thought. But Stephen is a smart one. He's going to give us a real opinion on these are factual LSU coaching odds. I'm not saying, that this is, where things currently rest for this, but you can actually wager on the next coach to be the next head coach, that is, at LSU. And the leader of the pack right now, Stephen, 3-2 is John Summerall, Tulane coach. Joe Brady, Buffalo Bills, I believe he's the offensive coordinator, 2-1. Lane Kiffin, 4-1. James Franklin, former Penn State coach, 6-1. Eli Drinkowitz, 8-1. Jeff Brom, Louisville coach, 12-1. Brent Key, 14-1. Jimbo Fisher, if you can't see the photo, that's him on his ranch because he ain't doing shit. He's 18-1. Clark Lee, 20-1. Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame coach, 25-1. Urban Meyer, that scumbag, I guess he wants to get back into coaching, 25-1. Rhett Lashley, SMU, 33-1. John Gruden, 40-1. He's out there touring the country, apparently, going to every coaching clinic he can because he thinks he's going to get back into the game. Lincoln Riley, 45-1. Remember, they tried to get him last time around. Dan Lanning, 66-1. And how about that, Stephen? Nick Saban, fresh off college game day, 75-1. Thoughts on this list, Stephen, and thoughts on if any of these are realistic for LSU?
Yeah, there's a lot of realistic options here. I think obviously, I think the name is Lane Kiffin here. He's at 4-1. He's the top name at Florida. I suspect he's the top name at LSU too. He is kind of the biggest domino in this coaching carousel. So hey, if you're wagering 4-1, he's not the favorite here. John Summerall is. If I had to kind of place them in order of, I wouldn't say necessarily the most likely to get the job, but it's almost like who is the first call that LSU would make? It's got to be Lane Kiffin, right? Then you go John Summerall. But I think there's some value even beyond that. Like, Mike, if you really, really wanted to bet this, I would put something down like on James Franklin. He's at 6-1. Eli Drinkowitz, 8-1. He's up near the top of the odds for Florida. But Mike, I like to throw some darts when I'm looking at these odds because, right, there's going to be some surprises in the carousel. What about Jeff Brom? 12-1. He's a Louisville alum. He's got Louisville rolling. But what if LSU came to him and threw him? We know they're going to throw him a lot of money. Florida could do the same thing. So maybe you like Jeff Brom at 12-1. I would even throw like something on Dan Lanning at 66-1. Lanning has been pretty consistent. He's got kind of a saying like, the grass is pretty green in Eugene. It's not necessarily green anywhere else. But hey, it's the SEC. He's got ties to the area from his time at Georgia and Alabama. So, if you like some dart throws, I love like Lanning at 66-1, Jeff Brom at 12-1. I think Summerall, Kiffin, and Drinkowitz are probably your first three realistic calls if you're LSU, though, perhaps.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, any shot. Now, there's a lot of speculation, Stephen, on Brian Kelly and his buyout, and if it can be lessened. And I do believe, I could be mistaken, but I believe he has mitigation. And if anyone is confused of what that means, that let's say Brian Kelly, like we threw up the joke there, let's say he's the next UCLA coach and UCLA pays him $5 million a year. It's my understanding that, it doesn't matter if it's $5 million, $1 million, $2 million, whatever, $20 million. They're not going to pay him $20 million, but whatever it is he's making, LSU can essentially take that out of what they owe him. That's what the mitigation means, and Brian Kelly does have that. So if you're an LSU fan, fingers crossed that Brian Kelly lands another job. I don't know why you would when he's getting essentially over $800,000 a month for the next 6 years. I wouldn't work if I had that coming my way. But point being, Stephen, any shot that LSU maybe, you mentioned James Franklin. He's getting paid quite a bit from Penn State. That they get someone like that doesn't or a Jimbo Fisher. I mean, I know that's kind of comical, but the Scott Woodward loves that damn guy. He's getting paid, a fortune by A&M. Any chance that they kind of go, or John Gruden? I can't imagine John Gruden if. I don't think he's a candidate, truthfully, but if you do hire him, I don't think he's going to command a high figure because literally nobody else is beating down his door to hire him. Point being, Stephen, is there any shot that you name your coach because based on how much he's willing to take? Essentially, I'm not saying you just go cheap to go cheap, but I would imagine, like, let's just use James Franklin because I think he's the only one that's truly realistic here, that he takes a lesser salary, and that makes him more attractive to LSU, who's paying this massive buyout to Brian Kelly.
I could totally see that for a couple jobs. I think a couple things about James Franklin is, number one, he has ties to the SEC from his stint at Vanderbilt. Very successful. Obviously, it's a little different now in the era. Like, he was there 3 years. He could develop the roster. It's like, you got to win right now. The other thing is he is available today. He could get started working tomorrow if you want to hire him, which means that he could get to work on recruiting class. You build an assistant staff. So I think, and also to go along with that, Mike, I think in terms of motivation, James Franklin is already insanely motivated. But the fact that he got pushed out the door at Penn State when things went wrong, just like in 3 games, and he was pretty successful otherwise, to say, hey, I'm willing to take a little bit less money, but I can hire the staff that I want and I can hit the ground running tomorrow. Sign me up. I think it's a pretty attractive, proposition for a lot of these jobs. So I suspect if you're Florida, LSU, or Arkansas, you're definitely inquiring about James Franklin's interest level, and maybe he takes a little bit of a discount because of that salary at Penn State. We'll say one job to watch for Brian Kelly if you're an LSU fan. Keep an eye on Michigan State. Jonathan Smith is just in his second year. A lot of frustration. Brian Kelly's got some ties to Michigan. Wouldn't be surprised if that job opens if Brian Kelly's one of the top names there. So if you're an LSU fan hoping to get rid of some of the buyout, there you go.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about it like that at all, Stephen. But now I certainly don't think you would. Now I'm totally speculating because I have no clue. But let's say Arkansas or it really doesn't matter. Arkansas, Florida, LSU. Let's say one of them is intent on hiring James Franklin. I really don't think they'd hire him in the middle of the season because of that would be so disruptive. But based on your comments there, I think it's a safe assumption that because he's out there, because these teams have plenty of time to come to an agreement with him, that it's a safe assumption that as soon as the regular season is over, if James Franklin is truly interested in getting back into coaching, and I believe he's been very public that he is, he'll probably be hired very, very, very soon after the regular season comes to an end. Do you think that's a safe assumption?
I do. So the last Saturday before the championship games is November 29th. I suspect that Sunday, November 30th, you're going to see dominoes start to fall, especially because signing day comes up right after that. You have basically last game of the season, signing day, championship week, bowl games announced, playoff announced, and then the portal comes up a little bit later in January. But if you're one of these teams, you've got to hit the ground running quickly on a coaching hire. I think one thing on Franklin in terms of, I don't think LSU is going to go cheap necessarily, but I think you could be talking are you talking about like a couple $1 million, which maybe lets you hire a better offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. You could put that money towards NIL. One thing that is consistent about Franklin, whether it was at Vanderbilt or Penn State, the guy knows how to push for what he needs. And he will not be afraid to push forward with any resources that he needs. And essentially, LSU is probably a little bit better set up than Penn State is to contend for the national championship. So that would be kind of an interesting discussion because I don't think you're necessarily talking about going cheap. I think it's maybe some dollars on the margins to maybe help you with roster and potentially coordinator hires there for maybe LSU or Florida in that case, if he's their guy.
Yeah. So let's start with LSU because that's kind of the hot topic. Number one, best odds right now, for what it's worth, to be the next LSU coach, Shane. Who's my favorite coach that they've started drinking because I keep talking about him?
John Sumrall.
Yeah, 3-2 odds to be the next LSU coach, John Sumrall. Now, again, do I think he's going to be the next LSU coach? Probably not. LSU, for some reason, Shane, they've got it in their heads like they are better, but they've got it in their heads. We're like Tulane, Louisiana Lafayette. We're LSU, buddy. We don't interview little brother down the street. So I don't know that John. Again, I'm not saying he's going to be the next coach, but he's got the best odds. What's your reaction to that?
I don't hate it. I mean, the man is obviously known in that area. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everything he's done with Tulane has been short of impressive. So I think, I don't know, man. You know, we talk about these buyouts and how dumb they are and stuff, and you feel like at some point there's going to be a little bit of a change. And I feel like this would be an opportunity, right? Maybe set up some sort of incentive-based program for a John Summer where he can make, top 10 money, but in the meantime, take some of that extra money you're not spending on a coach or a buyout and invest it in NIL. I think that would be a bad idea. So, they have an opportunity here to kind of positive spin it. And I'm not saying you're going to get John Summerall for cheap, but you can get him cheaper than some of these names you're about to mention. I guarantee it.
Right. Well, all right. Number 2 best odds, Shane. Second best odds. It's not who you think it is. Joe Brady, 2-1. Former passing coordinator.
Yeah.
Secret offensive coordinator, 2019. Now I believe he's Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But the way I hear it, he hates college recruiting and all and everything that goes with that not being a coach. So I really, really, really don't think Joe Brady's coming back to college. So again, I guess, but he does have second best odds. Better odds, Shane, than Lane Kiffin, 4-1 to be the next LSU head coach. James Franklin next, 6-1 odds to be the next LSU coach. Eli Drinkwitz, 8-1. Jeff Brom up there at Louisville, 12-1. Brent Key, he's kicking ass at Georgia Tech, 14-1. Jimbo Fisher, 18-1. That might be the one to put a couple bucks on. Just saying, old Jimbo. Woodward down there loves his ass for some reason. Clark Lee of Vanderbilt, of course, 20-1. Marcus Freeman, 25-1. And Urban Meyer, 25.
Oh, he's still there, huh?
Any of the guys I mentioned. Best bet in your book.
I mean, I'm not rolling Lane Kiffin out just yet because I've said it from the mountaintop that if this job ever opened up, I don't know. I would say that one would be up there. I hear Brom a lot just because of the success that he has, and if you look at his track record, you want to bring in a proven winner sometimes. I would imagine. I don't know. Those are just a couple of the names that I'm thinking of, but I feel like John Summerall's definitely not rolled out. I mean, obviously he's a favorite for a reason. He's a hot commodity. I joked with you, Mike. I said, remember when Kentucky had a small window to hire this guy? Now they don't because again, he's proven it. He's a winner, and imagine having the resources that LSU has. So, yeah, those are just some of the names that stand out to me.
And then I don't want to go over all of them because it's a long list.
Yeah.
But the last guy on the list, Shane.
Nick Saban.
75-1. Nick Saban. Come on down. Back to Baton Rouge. They hated your ass. They'll love you again. I'm just saying. Until they hire a next coach.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rule it out. I'll just say that.
It's funny. I know how Ole Miss fans feel. A little bit, I know how Mizzou fans feel. Here we're talking about their coach, right? Taking their coach and moving them down. Why wouldn't they take this dream job, And then I saw Josh Heupel's name pop up on a message board there in LSU. I was like, whoa, wait, now he's off limits. You take Lane Kiffin, but don't take my boy Josh Heupel.